Hello, everyone. This is Pepin NHL Talk. I'm Thomas Pepin, and today we'll be talking about the NHL. So we'll get right into today's subject, which is how long until the Detroit Red Wings are the next Tampa Bay Lightning. So uh, in today's subject, we're going to take a look at all of the offseason changes made by the Detroit Red Wings, Steve Yzerman's track record as a general manager, and the likelihood of him turning the team into the next perennial Stanley Cup contender. So just like the Tampa Bay Lightning. All right. So we'll start with Detroit's offseason moves. So just give me a moment here to pull that up. All right. So since July 22nd, they have signed Alex Nilkovich, the goalie. I won't go over the terms of the contracts here because we'll be touching on that as I go through. Um, but yeah, so he was signed 2 years. We have Mark Stahl signed. Oh, sorry. Scrolled too far down. Wrong year. And I guess I should say, as I mentioned previously, this is completely unscripted on the fly. So, as you can tell, sometimes I slip up there. So, uh, that Alex Nelkovich signing is still relevant because his contract extends into this year. But nonetheless, uh, the other signing, the big one for goalie, they picked up Ville Husso. He was previously with St. Louis. They signed Dominic Kubelik, Oli Mata, Andrew Kopp, David Perron, Ben Sherratt, Mark Pizik, Robert Haig, Jake Wallman, and Philip Zadina. I'm not sure how that's pronounced, but in any case, so those are the signings over the offseason. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think there were as many trades from Detroit, but we'll have a look just to confirm here. Okay, so in July, it was just the signing rights to Ville Husso for a third round pick. So nothing of any note in terms of trades. So now, yeah, just going through some of those signings there. Having not had those players previously, I mean, those are some notable improvements. So David Perron, we'll just take a quick scan of his stats here. So consistent producer, plays both wings. We'll just go over past 4 years here with the Blues. So 57 games, 46 points, 23 goals, 71 games played, 60 points, 25 goals. 56 games played, 58 points, 19 goals, 67, 57 points, 27 goals. So that's a fair bit of goals for to add to a team's production. So not bad. Definitely a good pickup. And you know what? Recent years he's played outstanding in the playoffs. So I should also comment on those points because though in the end, a playoff performer, if you can get to the playoffs right away, you turn your team into a decent performing team. You can draw in more talent, gives your players more experience. Like, I mean, it's a big deal. So, 18-19 season, 26 games played, 16 points, 7 goals. Pretty good production. 19-20 season, 9 games played, 9 points, 4 goals. 21-22, 12 games played, 13 points, 9 goals. Pretty darn good production there to bring in. So really solid pickup. Another guy I've been very impressed with since I follow the Jets a lot, them being my favorite team. Andrew Kopp, bringing him in. I never, in my opinion, I don't think he got enough solid ice time when he was playing with Winnipeg. Players ahead of him, I mean, you could argue that he wasn't meant to be in over some of the other players, but also he's really a strong player defensively. So I mean, it's tough to say that he should have necessarily been played more and better opportunities, but nonetheless, I mean, I think he's a heck of a player, and I think he was better than he was given opportunities for. So we'll take a look at his stats. So again, considering his usage with Winnipeg, so past 4 years here, 69 games played, 25 points, 63, 26, 55, 39, which is quite good. That's his best year. 15 goals, I should say, that year. And then last year, 56, 35 points when he was with Winnipeg, went over to the Rangers, got better ice time, better opportunities, 16 games played, 18 points. So over a point per game with the Rangers, 8 goals in those 16 games. So half a goal a game. That's really good. For playoffs, with the Jets, not too many points. Won't really touch on that. Goes with the Rangers last year. Rangers went deep, 20 games played, 14 points, 6 of those goals. So that's pretty good production there for his time there with the Rangers. And I mean, whether he'll continue that with Detroit or not, it's hard to say. The team's not as strong as the Rangers. Or you could argue that now with the improvements, maybe they're comparable. You can argue either way, but or at least I could argue either way. You know what? We'll go back to my algorithm that I've produced here. Detroit, I have them ranked 9th in expected scoring versus Rangers 23rd. So, as far as I'm concerned, personally, I think that Detroit's going to produce better. So then, as a result, Cobb should be putting up some good numbers. But again, that's my analysis, and you can argue obviously against that. So in any case, the other pickups here, Kubalik, we'll have a quick look at his stats. He's not a major producer, but still definitely a relevant pickup. So previously with the Blackhawks in 1920, 68 games, 30 goals. That's a lot. 46 points. pretty good production there in those playoffs. 9 games played, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points. That's his only playoff appearance. Pretty good production. Next year, again with the Blackhawks, 56 games played, 38 points, good production. Last year, kind of dipped a little bit there, 78, 32 points. So on a really not good Blackhawks team, that's pretty decent production there. And yeah, with his cap hit of 2.5 million, that's really good value. And I mean, if he can get anywhere near those 30 goals, he's a young guy just coming into the league. Man, if you can get that out of him, what a steal. But we'll kind of again revisit the contracts in a couple moments here. So I believe that's the bulk of the signings there. Just give me a second to navigate back to make sure I didn't miss anything here. Or at least on forward, yeah. So we'll move over to the defense there and have a look at those improvements. Yeah. So pick up Ben Sherratt. Now, he's not known for production on D, more of a shutdown guy. Bit of upside, but I mean, and again, having followed the Jets, I'm pretty confident in my assessment of him. So, yeah, so with the Jets, 20 points, 78 games 4 years ago. Montreal, 69, 21 points. That was the year before they went deep there. Following year, 41 games played, 7 points, not very good. Following year, last year was 54 games played, 18 points, pretty good. Moves over to Florida, 20 games played, 8 points. So, good defenseman, solid in his role there. And so definitely a good acquisition for Detroit. Olimata, take a look at here. He's a guy that drafted in the first round in 2012, was expected to be a higher performer than he has been, but yeah, he's been very up and down. But yeah, we'll have a look at his stats here. So just to contrast, so his first year in Pittsburgh, 2013-14, 78 games played, 29 points. That's good production from a defenseman, or at least, it's a solid performer on D. So since then, only played 20 games the next year. Got similar production in 17-18 season with Pittsburgh, 82 games played, 29 points. So decent production again. Then thereafter, 60 games played, 14, 65, 17, 41, 4 in Los Angeles, not last year, but the year before. And then last year in Los Angeles again, 8 points in 66 games. So not good production of late. So we'll kind of see how he pans out in Detroit, but I wouldn't say it's a gamble, especially at his rate, 2.25 million. Not a gamble really. Otherwise, I'm just going to take a look at a couple of the other D acquisitions. To be honest, they're kind of depth defensemen, so not expecting as much out of them. Mark Pysyk, best year 3 years ago, 18 points in 58 games. I mean, good enough production. Jake Wallman, not really anything to make note of. He's relatively new to the league. Robert Haig, same sort of thing, kind of new to the league. Played a few years, but best year, 20 points in 82 games. That's back in 18-19 with Philly. So, I mean, depth pickups. They've got some good young talent there on D. So, I mean, I guess if that's the goal to pick up depth defensemen, I mean, you achieved it there. So, and then otherwise in net, Ville Husso was the big pickup there. Take a look at his stats. It's only his, this year will be his third year. It's only his second year where he started getting a number of starts there. So he played 40 games, 919 save percentage. So, and just give me a second here because this is all from Cat Friendly. They don't have his wins. So just give me a second here to pull that up from another source. So I remembered him doing quite well, and it's even better than I remember. So he played in 40 games, 25 wins. Like, that's really good. 7 losses, 6 ties. Like, man, that's really good. So, cautious optimism with him. Only his first year last year of getting any number of starts. So who knows how he's actually going to pan out. That's where 4.75 contract. He's young. Can he keep it up? It's tough to say. He was a 4th-round draft pick, so it's not like his pedigree is, that he's expected to be this long-term starter in the NHL. So, so that's tough. I don't. If he can keep up this similar performance to what he had there in St. Louis, awesome. But it's we'll see, I guess. So those are the acquisitions there. Now we'll take a look here just at the team in general that Yzerman's kind of put together here. So and then we'll take a look at his history after that. So one moment here to pull up his information. So he started with Detroit in April 2019. We'll take a look from that point onwards. Some of his signings there in Detroit. So I don't know if you guys can hear the wind in the background. Holy Jesus, it's a windy day. I think it's like gusts of 65 kilometers an hour, maybe even more. Don't know offhand what that is in miles per hour, but really windy. So anyways, okay. So his biggest signings. the one where it slipped up at the beginning there. Alex Nilkovich signed for 2 years, $3 million apiece. He's had really good stats in recent years. So, yeah. So or I should say, in the year prior to last year, before he went to Detroit. So, in Carolina, 23 games, 9.32 save percentage. Playoffs, 9 games played, 92 save percentage. So, put up good stats there. Still, same story with like Husso, not much of a track record. Nilkovich, I think, he was a second round draft pick. Better pedigree. Played a lot. I remember for the U.S. junior team and things like that. So, good pedigree, better than Husso, will say. So the tandem, you'd hope, plays well, but again, we'll see there. So, 2 years, $3 million. Don't know if I like that contract. Last year, his save percentage dipped, not on a good team, so of course keep that in mind. .901 save percentage. So, take that with a grain of salt, but not the best. With an improved team this year, you'd hope those numbers go up, but again, we'll see. Signed Mark Stahl, $2 million 1 year. That's expired. Now he's over in Florida. Played well enough for Detroit, so not a bad signing. Another signing he made there in the offseason in 2021, Pius Suter, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. And in his signing there, since being in Detroit, 15 goals, 36 points in 82 games. Decent production there. Cap hit of 3.25. Young guy. I don't know if I like that contract, but still, it's not expensive. It's not like you're burning $5 million on a guy. So, not the end of the world. Only 2 years. You can get out of the contract pretty easy. And I think they would own his rights thereafter. No, he actually becomes a UFA. So, anyways, so not a big deal on that contract. You got to fill out the roster too. Again, keep that in mind. So, and you got to hit the cap floor. So, short contract, inexpensive, not really much of an issue. So, not a bad contract there. Tyler Bertuzzi signed for 2 years that same summer. 4.75 per. He'll be a UFA. Maybe could have signed longer term. Maybe would have been a better idea considering his recent stats. So, past 3 years, well, let's say 4 years again, 73 games played, 21 goals, 47 points, a lot of goals. So good production there. 71, 21 goals again, 48 points the following year. Was out most of 2021, 9 games played, 7 points. Last year, really good production, very impressive. 68 games played, 62 points, 30 goals. That's really good. Tyler Bertuzzi's a promising player there. The hopes is that they can extend him, keep him around, but we'll see there. So, got really good value out of him. I'm sure Yzerman's hoping to keep him around. Jacob Verana signed for 3 years, 5.25. that same offseason. Since being in Detroit, 26 games played, 19 points last year. So decent production in his time. I'm assuming he missed time due to injury, but don't know offhand. In any case, expensive, short-term contract. You can get out of it. Not a big deal. Decent signing there. Next up, Adam Ernie, not sure how that's pronounced. Since being in Detroit, 56 games, 5 points, 45, 20 points, 79, 19 points, 2.1 cap hit. Expires after this year. So, again, got to fill out the roster. Not a big deal. Philip Peronic, 4.4 for 3 years. Or 4.4 per for 3 years, I should say. Let's have a look again. First year with the team, 46 games played, 23 points, 65-31, 56-26, 78-38 last year. So decent production, expensive. Again, fill out the roster. Won't fault him on that. Robbie Fabry, injured at the moment. Hope he heals up there. I'm sure Yzerman is thinking the same. Since going over to Detroit, 52 games played, 31 points, 30, 18, 56, 30 points. So good production out of him. With his extension, it started this year. So just hoping, I guess, he becomes healthy moving forward in his contract. So that's where $4 million. He's got really good pedigree. Was a first round pick in St. Louis. Played World Juniors for Canada. Was a good player. So, I mean, $4 million, not a big gamble, not too expensive. Won't eat up too much of the cap. So I'd say it's a good signing there. And then that moves it into all the signings of this past year. So since going to Detroit, I'd say good job on a bottom feeder team to fill out the roster, fill out the cap. Good job, I'd say. Definitely a good job. And all those guys really look at it as you get a test of them if you want to keep them. Bringing them in there short term. Test not that expensive. I would say, got overpaid, so they're probably happy. Not a bad way to start off on a team that's rebuilding basically from scratch. So decent job there. I won't talk too much to the draft picks because, to be honest, it's heavily on the scouts. Or at least that's my understanding. I'm not a GM, obviously, but my understanding is that GMs heavily leverage their scouts. They kind of just have final say, I guess, at the table, but won't really talk too much to the drafts, players they drafted there. All right, so now we'll take a look at Yzerman's history over in Tampa. So he started as a GM back in 2010. And if I'm not mistaken, the team wasn't the best at that time, and they were trying to piece together a good team. So I'll just pull up their standings year year over year there, and we'll take a look at what it was before, during, and after his stay there. Well, we know most recent history, how that panned out for Tampa, but yeah, let's have a look here. And so he started, like I said, in 2010, the summertime. So 2011 is his first year, to see how the team went. So again, going just prior to his stay, I'd say a good time frame to have a look at prior to gauge the improvement is probably a 4-year span, because you can kind of start to put together a team over the span of 4 years. So the 4 years prior, they were a losing team for the most part. So 07 we'll start with, 82 games played, 31 wins, 42 losses. Following year, 82, 24 wins, 40 losses, 82, 34, 36, 82, 46, 25. So better year that the year that he came in the summer there. But yeah, so inherits not the best of team. Yeah, teams in the league there. So first year under Yzerman, 38 wins, 36 losses, 8 ties. Yeah, so not a good year, but you don't expect to make an impact your first year. Following year, shortened season, 48 games, 18, 26, and 4. So can't expect much again second year in. Now that's where things kind of flip. So following year, 13, 14, 46, 27, and 9. Next year after, 50, 24, and 8. Pretty good years. Now, I don't think they made the playoffs straight through there. Give me 1 second to pull that up. So, yeah, 2015-16, did they make it? Yeah, they did make the playoffs, despite not having the best of records there. So 15-16, they had 46, 31, and 5. They did make the playoffs following year. They next got 42, 30, and 10. So basically just missing the playoffs there. And then made the playoffs all the rest of the years now, looking at it. So yeah, so I won't bother going through the rest of their wins and losses. So basically, after that point, stellar team with Yzerman putting the team together there. So let's see, just to make note. Where is that? So yeah, they were division champions in 17-18 the next year as well. Eastern Conference champions in 1920 and last year. And they were the leader in points in 18-19. So number of really good years, obviously. Now, just with their playoff performance In 13-14, lost in the first round. 14-15, lost in the final. 15-16, lost in conference final. 17-18, conference final. 18-19, first round. That was that crazy sweep with Columbus, if you remember. Then 19-20, Cup final, Stanley Cup champions. Then 2021 Stanley Cup, and last year finals again. So, mind you, of course, he was no longer with the team. So, but you can chalk that up for the most part, I would say, to Yzerman. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can say that. Sorry, that afterwards, if you can give Breezeball the credit. I mean, he obviously made some moves and did a good job. I'm not gonna take that away from him, but nonetheless, winning the Stanley Cup there, those 2 years, you can give Yzerman a bit of credit. So, heck of a track record for performance. I mean, to be honest, I could take a look at all of his signings and his contracts, trades, and things like that. I think I'll just highlight maybe some of his most important ones there, but yeah, obviously the performance speaks for itself. So let's just take a look maybe at some of the trades. So what do we got here? So we'll ignore, I guess, some of his trades in Detroit, but just bear with me. I'll have a quick scan after we go through some of his stuff in Tampa there. Because, of course, you have to still give him credit. When you're shedding salary, you gotta, if you're building from scratch, there's some important steps that you need to take in order to put together a good team. So yeah, don't want to discount his performance in setting a good foundation to Detroit. So all right, so back to summer of 2010. So just have a quick scan through some of his trades. Pick up Dwayne Rollison. He was a good goalie there. McElhaney, good backup. Yeah, and I should say both of those trades, they got rid of people that weren't that important to the team in the end. So some good trades there. Yeah, pretty quiet for a number of years. So I guess you could say most of the improvements were through the draft. And I mean, obviously, so with Point and Stamkos and things like that. So, you have to build from the draft in general, starting a team from scratch. So, yeah, not seeing too many trades in the early years for him. Picked up Ryan Callahan, got rid of Martin St. Louis. Don't know if that really panned out. Did they win the cup with Callahan? I believe so, if I'm not mistaken. 14, 15. No, they got to the final. He played in 1920, did he? No. So he was never in for any of their Stanley Cup wins, but some deep pushes. So, I mean, didn't contribute much in the playoffs. So, I mean, if you're looking strictly at points. So, don't know if that trade's the best. I don't think St. Louis played much after that anyways. So, yeah, so after that trade, he only played one more year. So, I mean, yeah, don't know if that's a good trade from a player standpoint, but they got back a first round pick in 14, first round pick in 2015. So, of course, you never know how those picks are going to pan out. But so, as an example, one of them was Beauvillier, who's playing over in the Islanders there. Decent player, but they never, I don't think he ever played for Tampa. No, he never did. So, I mean, they got some first round picks. Joshua Hosang also never played for Tampa. So, I mean, yeah, good trade from an asset standpoint. Player for player, not really. So, I'd say it's a win of a trade. So, a good trade there. Funny one here, talking about Braden Point. They got him in a trade. They picked him up third round, and they traded away a third and a seventh. So, yeah, funny. Funny how they picked him up at that point. What a draft pick with his impact. Let's see if there's anything else here. Braden Coburn, I remember he played quite well when in his time there in Tampa. Yeah, not any major production, but I know that he ate up a lot of minutes. So, and they traded away Radko Gudas, not a major producer. I think actually produced more than Coburn in the end, but yeah, better production on defense there. So, and then they gave away a first and a third. So, that I would say is a loss of a trade, but it was trade deadline kind of pickup. So, in 2015, they got to the final. So, was it worth the trade? I don't know. Tough to say. You know, I couldn't say. That's really a balance. You could argue both ways. So, what else here? Not many trades. Like, I mean, he looks like he really built from the draft. Picked up Peter Budaj in 2017. I'm pretty sure that's the year that he actually was counted on a lot, because I think they had some goaltending injuries that year. No, not counted on that much, but nonetheless, I think that was the year that they went down to like fourth goalie or something. Don't hold me to it, of course, but yeah, pretty important pickup, I'm pretty sure, in the end there. Shedded salary with Ben Bishop, and I think that was exclusively shedding salary. No, he did play after, so my bad. But yeah, nonetheless, it was a 4.76 million contract, only retained 1.19. So, and I forget if that's when they started having Vasilevsky play. Let's just have a quick look, because maybe that's the whole rationale. So yeah, 16-17 is when Vasilevsky started playing heavily, and they traded. Yeah, so that's pretty much. I think they were trying to give some space for Vasilevsky then. So there you go. That's the reason for the trade. Yeah, so in the end, I mean, you could argue that's a good trade just to clear space to eventually sign him to the contract that they have him at now. So, yeah, so I'd say good trade in the end, even though you're giving away Bishop basically. They didn't get that much back. Cernak, yeah, and picks and stuff. So if you're shedding salary, I mean, that's you could argue that's a good trade there. Yeah, not seeing much else here. Still, yeah, and that trade. Okay, so here's the first, I'd say, major trade. The Sergachev trade, heck of a defenseman in Tampa, and then trading away Drouin, who was not happy with his usage. So Drouin not playing, personal reasons. Don't want to hold that against him. And I can't recall if there's injuries mixed in there as well, but trading him away where Montreal hasn't gotten much out of him, whereas Sergachev, man, he's played well in Tampa. So just some of his stats since arriving in Tampa: 40 points, 32, 34, 30, 38. I mean, for a defenseman, and then he's getting 10 points 2 of the years in the playoffs. Wow, like they won that trade for sure. And that's not even to consider the fact that they got a second round pick. He didn't materialize into anything of note, but they got back a second round pick, and Drouin went the other way with a sixth. Like that's Tampa really won that trade there. Yeah, so really good move. What else do we got here? Picked up Louis Domingue. He was a good backup there for Tampa. I mean, numbers aren't that great, but they definitely weren't bad as a backup in Tampa. So, all right, specifically, I should say in Tampa, his time with Tampa there. Yeah, another big trade here. Ryan McDonough, they picked up JT Miller, another good player. Got rid of Nemestikov, Howden, Hayek. Hayek's played well, I believe, in New York. Nope, mistaken. Played in games, not too much production, but yeah, otherwise, first round pick. Nils Lundqvist is who they turned out getting. Didn't materialize. He's now in Dallas. So yeah, I'd say giving up the first round pick in the trade, you could say maybe, I don't know, Steve Nemesnikov's not a bad player. Not crazy production though. So definitely I'd say they won that trade. in the end, that first round pick, whenever you trade a first round pick, you got to be careful. But that was a February trade near the trade deadline. They turned out in 2018 getting to the conference final. And then McDonough was around through those Stanley Cup wins there. So really important defenseman for the team. JT Miller, I think, didn't play too long in Tampa. Yeah, finished out the season after the trade, played 1 year, played well, but then went on to Vancouver. Just out of interest, was he a free agent? Give me a sec. Where is that contract? No, so then I think he must have been traded again later. Since he isn't with the team. So we'll, I guess, revisit that in a sec here. So anyways, good trade. I'd say they definitely won that one there. What else? Yeah, so that's it in his time in Tampa. So I guess he must have JT Miller must have been traded after. You know what? Just since I'm talking about it, I might as well have a look. JT Miller was traded, after he left to Vancouver in a trade that they got a first round. So not that good of a trade, I'd say. I won't go over it, but anyways, so Yzerman leaves, not that good of a trade. So, I mean, pretty sure Tampa would like to have JT Miller at this point. Whether or not they could have afforded him, that's kind of a different story. But anyways, so there you go. His track record in Tampa for trades, good signings, good. I mean, and then we saw what happened in Tampa. So, heck of a track record. So now, considering all that, basically we get to the final question is can he turn the Red Wings into the next perennial Stanley Cup contender? And I'd say, I mean, he's got a heck of a track record. Now, build through the draft. Again, that's not on him specifically, but he has to put together that scout team. Now, of course, I can't analyze whether or not their scouting group is good and all that. Don't want to even make any thoughts on the subject or judgments. Whether he kept a lot of the scouts that they previously had, don't know. That's kind of insider baseball kind of stuff. So really too deep of analysis for me to say anything. So based on his track record, build through the draft, which they did, made a couple important trades, picked up some good players, shedded salary. And I mean, basically doing the same sort of thing. It looks like from the start, low cap team. So at least in that regard, very impressive. So just to give the spot, they're fourth from the bottom in cap spending. Cap space 6.383 million. And I have them in my predictions making the playoffs this year. So basically, just got there, a couple years ago, already, in my opinion, putting together a playoff team, which was kind of his turnaround in Tampa. Uh, you know, 2 or 3 years to start putting a good roster out there. So, I mean, trends are looking up. Looks like he's already pretty much already has done it. So, I mean, the draft players take time to materialize. Goaltending, you know, decent pedigree there, but young guys inexperienced, don't know how they're going to pan out. Both have had playoff experience, which is great to bring in two goalies that at least have had some exposure to the playoffs. So smart move there. Yeah, he's put together a good team. So now the question is if they can continue to draft well um, and grow the team. So actually, one sec. I want to check one thing here that I just saw a name, and I could have sworn that he brought him in. Yeah, so he picked up Oscar Sundqvist, which was a good player in St. Louis, if I recall correctly. Nah, I mean, decent enough. 31 points, 74 games, 23.57. Yeah. I remember him playing well, at least. So, yeah, it was their playoff run. That's what I'm remembering when St. Louis won the cup there. He was important to their cup run. So, good pickup. There, got rid of Leddy. I don't know if I like that trade. Leddy's decent performing defenseman. I don't know. That trade, not sure how I feel about it. Yeah. And actually, on that note, I don't know if I touched on all of his trades there in Detroit. No, I don't think I did. So sorry about that. I guess I missed a couple of things there. So let's have a look just quickly to see if there's anything of note. Picked up Fabry, got rid of DeLaRose. DeLaRose has basically produced nothing. So good trade there for Fabry. I think that's because of his injury problems that they got him for cheap. Got rid of Green's contract to the Oilers. So, yeah, don't know if that's because what did he do there? And yeah, so I guess I think that was for Edmonton trying to make one of their runs, and Mike Green didn't materialize into anything. Picked up Brodziak, which didn't really play. So, so not really much of a trade. Got rid of Anastasio, which I think they had trouble with him. He's produced decently well. So, and they got back Sam Gagne. So, and 2 second-round picks. Don't know if I like that trade either. So, yeah, but I mean, these are not major impacts to the team in the end. What did they get there? Yeah, so they retained some of Savard's salary. Yeah, they didn't really get much. They only got a 4th-round pick, I think, in that trade in the end, so not really anything to note. Got rid of Anthony Mantha. And he's been up and down, was expected to produce well in Detroit. Actually last year he did pretty well, 23 points, 37 games with Washington. So giving up a decent player, and they got back Jacob Vrana, 1st round, 2nd round, Richard Panik. So don't know if I like that trade again. Again, not overly impactful, so not a big deal. Got rid of Panik, picked up Nick Leddy. Nick Leddy played only last year in Detroit, 16 points, 55 games. Again, don't know if I really like that trade, but that was probably to fill out cap space because, 5.5. So, got rid of Bernier to get Nilkovich to start, which was a good move. Only gave up a 3rd-round pick with Bernier. And that's basically it for the trades in Detroit there. So I'd say nothing overly impactful. I guess in the air about a few of those trades. So so again, going back to everything, he really good track record in Tampa. A lot of it was through the draft, hoping that they can do it through the draft again. I'm assuming shedded a whole bunch of salary, starting from scratch, basically with salary. Looking quite good there in terms of cap space. Decent team put together. Larkin, a stud of a player. And Lucas Raymond, 23 goals, 57 points last year. That's through the draft, 1st-round pick in 2020. Moritz Seider on defense, 1st-round pick in 2019. 50 points in 82 games. Like, man, that's really good. So, so I guess basically, sure looks like he's putting everything together to build the next Tampa Bay Lightning. Everything's in place. Cap space this year, even if they want to make some moves, maybe they make the playoffs, or they're expected to make the playoffs and, do something around trade deadline. You don't want to blow a whole bunch of assets to just try to, maybe win a round. So, and Yzerman's not going to make those kind of dumb decisions. So, looking up in Detroit, heck of a team. I have them just missing the playoffs with a shot of making the playoffs there. So, basically it looks like Yzerman's putting together the next perennial Stanley Cup contender, and Detroit might be the next Tampa Bay. So I think that'll wrap things up there. Thanks for tuning in. If you like the video, like it, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share it with your friends, And as always, if you have any feedback, comments, leave them in the comments there. Sorry for again any ups and downs in going from one thing to the other. Again, this is unscripted. Just know the topic to begin. Just doing this for fun. So just hope you like the analysis. So yeah, thanks for your time. Don't have the subject planned for tomorrow, but same time again tomorrow, 4 p.m. 5 p.m. Eastern. And on that note, I should say, in a bit less than a month, I'm probably going to be switching over to 4 p.m. Eastern. I guess now I let the cat out of the bag. So yeah, tomorrow 5 p.m. and probably around the time change for the fall is probably when I'll switch over to 4 p.m. But I'll keep you guys posted, and just take a look at the scheduled next streams, and that'll tell you what's going on when those changes are planned. So yeah, so thanks again for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.